We're back, ladies and gentlemen, and I can already hear the chorus of people who are applauding by the fact that I've discontinued the "What is up, everybody" that I usually do to begin an episode of Chris and Company. But welcome to Chris and Company. First episode that we've done in a while. I've been pretty open about this where, the way the show's kind of working right now is I've always been, hopefully, a quality over quantity guy. Now, if you find what I do to be of quality, that's obviously subjective, but I try to be quality over quantity. And so I've just, the inspiration's been there, but we've had a little bit of trouble locking up guests. Now, we had the greatest stroke of luck ever, and we talk about it in the interview. Shout out to my producer, Austin, who was able to get Jace Jung to agree to come on to Chris and Company. He said yes, and like 2 hours later, he got called up to the big league. So I wish I was smart enough to tell you that I was able to get an inside scoop by a guy who had just been called up to the big leagues. And while technically that is true, it is more coinky-dink than anything else. But even with the kind of changes in schedule, I appreciate Jace Jung taking the time to come on Chris and Company and answer some questions. Really excited for you guys to listen to that interview, especially coming off of the pretty wild several days that he's had to begin his major league career. And yesterday's game tying RBI in Williamsport. We talk all about that. So hold on to your butts. It's an interesting interview. Obviously, all these young guys for the Tigers, I mean, they're just likable personalities. Like, if this works with Scott Harris and this core comes together, like, it's going to be a really fun team to watch and an easy team to root for. Not to say they aren't now, but winning is a lot more fun than losing. Just a few programming notes. I have that kind of inspiration back for this show. Basically, the way that things have been working in the summer is that there's so much baseball going on, which to me is never a bad thing. But I always kind of have that fear of the show getting redundant. And we have had some issue booking guests, which isn't, it's not even a complaint. It's just, that's the way things are. I mean, the fact that I'm able to get any of these guys is I'm incredibly fortunate to do so. But I'm telling you, in the future here, we're gonna kick up production because we got football coming right around the corner, and I want to do an interview. I'm not going to say who the guests are, but I want to do a Michigan football interview / preview episode, a Michigan State football interview / preview episode, and of course a Detroit Lions football / preview episode. That it should be coming down the pike. I don't know the scheduling and times in which these podcasts are going to come out. I have no clue. I'm pretty unpredictable with that stuff, but I will be sure to let all of you know on social media, and you can follow me on Twitter at Castellani 2014. Ooh, good segue. Solid 8.5 out of 10 segue there. At Castellani 2014. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment, share it. What do you do? What do the kids do on Facebook? Poke it. Pinterest, if you use that, why not? What the hell? Go ahead. All the kids are using the Instagrams and the Twitters nowadays. And you can subscribe on Patreon if you want to get early video access to this interview and to other interviews as well. The link to that is in the description for this video. We will be back to wrap this thing up, plug socials one more time, and say goodbye to y'all. But for the time being, let's quit stalling and get right to our interview with Detroit Tiger third baseman Jace Jung. Chris and Company rolls on. We are joined today by no longer Detroit Tigers third baseman of the future, Detroit Tigers third baseman of the present, thankfully. Jace Jung joins the program, and you couldn't have picked a better time, one, to get called up. I mean, it was the greatest stroke of luck ever. Like 2 hours after we booked the interview, you get called up to the big leagues. So I thank you for being good at your job, because it made me seem way more intelligent than I actually am. But first of all, I mean, how you doing, man? You're quite a week for you. I mean, where are the emotions at for you right now?
Yeah, I think, I was at an all-time high when I got called up. A lot of emotions going through myself. I think now I'm just like trying to settle in, trying to be with these guys, trying to help the team win. I think that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just trying to, be there for the guys, just trying to do my job.
And you were last night, and you have been in the 3 games that you've played so far. I feel like probably a better broadcaster would start from the beginning and work his way up. But I'm still coming off the high of last night's win, so let's just start there. After last night, obviously in Williamsport, third major league game for you. and you're playing on national TV. I think that's the first time the Tigers have been on Sunday Night Baseball in 7 years. I guess if you could just kind of talk me through what the atmosphere was like. What were the emotions at going into that game? Because obviously, pretty crazy time for the Tigers.
Yeah. So, we got there around like 8:30 or 9:30. Oh, no, that's the time the plane left. And then we got there, and then we just kind of like hung out at the field, signed autographs for all the kids, and, had a great time, talked to a bunch of kids, did all the ping pong stuff and like the kids' room and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun, just went around the village basically and just, tried to, meet as many kids as I could and, say hi, sign autographs. And then after that, we went to the field and just went to prepare for the game and, ate lunch, all that stuff, getting ready for the game, hitting the cage, all that stuff. And, just the game came and just, we just had a good time, just went out there and tried to, do what we've been doing the whole year.
And that's exactly what you did. Obviously, you guys get to the 9th inning there, and we'll kind of go through that at bat here for a second. Clay Holmes, obviously the closer for the Yankees. Now you'd gotten you'd already gotten your first hit out of the way. You'd already reached base in your first appearance. You drew a walk against Garrett Cole. We'll talk about that in a bit. But now this is high leverage situation. You got Colt Keith on second. Holmes, I'm guessing a guy you probably had never faced unless you faced him in spring training. But obviously known for having that firm sinker. You end up taking it the other way for what was a game tying RBI. What was kind of your approach going into that at bat? Were you trying to go the other way with it?
When I first got up there, they called time and they took a while at the pitcher's mound. So, I was like, I wonder what they're doing here. So I went up there and was just like, I need to stay on the heater. Flips the first one in for a slider for a strike. And I was like, ooh, that was a good one to hit. And then the next one was a slider out and away. And I was like, good take. And then I was like, he's probably going to try to, because I saw his heater the other night. It was a really good heater. I mean, just sunk and went the other way. So I was like, I just need to be on the heater here, be on time for the heater. And that's, he just threw it a little away, and I just tried to hit it the other way when it came.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a remarkable at bat, and that's the solid approach against Holmes because that sinker's going to get a ton of ground balls, and that's exactly what you hit there. But there's a lot of room there on the left side of the infield, and you found it. It's obviously a really cool moment. I mean, since getting called up, and really since the deadline, the team's been playing some pretty good baseball. I guess as somebody who's now been in the organization for about 2 years, what's kind of the relationships like right now with the team? Do you feel like even though you're transitioning from AAA to the big league level, you're playing with a lot of guys that you've played with before? Did that make kind of the transition to the big leagues a little easier, do you feel like?
Oh, yeah. I think it's made it really easy for me. I mean, I've played with just about everybody on the team except Baez and Colt. So, like, the infield, I'm pretty, familiar with, infield wise, and I think outfield wise, I've played with just about everybody, like with rehab and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like Gary was down in Toledo 2 weeks ago doing rehab. Greeny was just in rehab with us, and then Parker came down and did some rehab, and so I think that makes it so much comfortable. Like going into the locker room, knowing the guys, everybody's great here. I mean, we just have a solid locker room. Everybody fights for one another.
Yeah, it's great. And I think that one thing that I've heard kind of from the organization, the people that I've interviewed, is like there is a genuine sense of community like in Detroit right now. Like kind of feels like there is a solid camaraderie there. And I think a big reason is Scott Harris wants to make sure that you guys come up together. I mean, that's part of the core that he's been assembling over the last several years. I want to kind of go back now to the beginning because I was looking at your Wikipedia page, doing some research on you. I saw that you Texas Tech alum and Red Raider. First team All-American during your time at Texas Tech. But one thing I saw in an interview that you did, you committed to Texas Tech your freshman year of high school to play in college. Was there ever any other consideration of going anywhere, or is it Texas Tech just in your blood?
Growing up, I was a Longhorn fan. Me and my brother both were. And, Josh had a visit with Texas. He went and visited this campus and everything like that. And they never offered him. Never gave him a chance. And so, after I saw that, it's kind of really just pushed me away from Texas. And just he committed to Tech. Tech, I mean, it was unbelievable what they did for him. Just, I saw him go up there, have success, see how much he grew in the game of baseball and his routines and the weight room and all this stuff, getting bigger, stronger, faster. And then I was like, that's something I want to do. And, Texas never came calling. So I had my heart set on Texas Tech from freshman year. Like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to go. And just everything about Lubbock, if you've never been, it's just a small town vibe. I mean, my parents come up all the time, and it's just like a community, like a small community, but it's a college town. And, just everybody there is nice. I mean, you're not going to meet anybody mean there. And it's just the fans love the game of baseball there, and they love sports in general, but they really show up for baseball.
Tigers took you 2022 draft in the first round. I'm always fascinating, and I've had several guys on here like Max Clark kind of talking about this, because I view the major league draft as significantly different than the draft in other sports, where I feel like there's probably less predictability. Whereas, you kind of go through the NFL draft, you have your mock drafts, you have the idea of kind of what the top 5 to 10 might look like. Were you surprised that it was the Tigers when they called, or did you have a feeling that they were kind of honing in on you?
No, I knew I had an interview with them, and our interview went amazing. And I think, after I had my interview with them, they called my agent, and they said that was one of the best interviews they've ever done. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just knew like that day just was, it was bound to be the Tigers, if not somebody else. If not, somebody grabbed me earlier. But I just, the Tigers they just had that. We don't know. Just that meeting went so well. Like all my other meetings didn't go as well as the Tigers one. Just the whole meeting was awesome. It was a great meeting. We had a great time talking to each other, getting to know one another, and it just seemed like a great meeting.
And obviously, it's a dream come true. Regardless, you're getting drafted to play in the big leagues. But were you kind of hoping it was Detroit at that point by the time draft night came around? Yeah.
I was like, man, I knew we had a great meeting, and I knew everything, like going in the draft. Like, obviously the Kumar rocker kind of threw everything in
That's right.
The draft of 3. It threw everything in. I'm like, oh gosh, he wasn't projected that high, and then he gets taken by the Rangers, and I'm like, and then the rumors start going on like, hey, this is about to mix up the draft. Hey, like if this guy doesn't go, then you're the next guy on our list. Like all this stuff starts happening. You start hearing things, reading things online, and that was the main thing, is trying to stay offline, because everybody starts trying to predict who they're taking and stuff. And that's the one thing I tried to do. I just tried to stay off my phone and just waited for a call. And but yeah, I just knew like that day, like Detroit was meant to be, because we had such a great meeting.
You brought up, putting away your phone. Is it hard during that process, not just that night, but kind of the build up to it as well, to block out the noise, considering how, potentially life-changing that move is?
Yeah, it's for sure like hard to block out the noise. I think we're just like, everybody in that position is just so excited, to be in that spot, that like it's hard not to check, hard not to see what people are saying. And, I tried to like really I deleted Twitter, I deleted Instagram. I just tried to like really focus on myself and, trying to be the best version of myself, and trying to go out there and just try to, get better until the draft.
Yeah. And that, we're glad you ended up here. And believe it or not, we met one time. I did a color commentary for a Whitecaps game when you were there. It was shortly after you were drafted. And one thing that I find interesting about your arc, and I've talked to several guys like this in the organization, is that you were drafted in the Avila era, but kind of the main part of your development through the minor leagues came when Scott Harris was in charge of the Tigers. I'm always curious, in your time, have you been able to notice differences between the two regimes as they kind of pass things along from one era to another?
Food, yes. I've noticed in that aspect, we have all the proteins, all the powders that we need, to maintain throughout the whole year. I think that's the main thing I really noticed, like that right away, was like, ooh, the food just got better. The spread just got better. We have like the BCAs and the recovery stuff in the locker room at every minor league affiliate. and not just the big leagues. Like, so like we don't have to go out and buy our own, like the team is providing it for us. I think that was the main thing I noticed like right away was, he came in with a plan of like making sure all of us had the right nutrition and everything like that. We hired nutritionists, now we have a nutritionist at every place we go, and they'd make smoothies for us, all this kind of stuff for us. And I think that was the main thing I noticed. But as far as like baseball wise, I still, like my development came from like kind of the Garco and all those guys. They're kind of the same people that they switched over within each other, but like it didn't change in that aspect. I mean, I guess the one thing that did change is with this one, with Scott Harris, I moved to third. So I think that was the really the only baseball adjustment that happened.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question about that was, the defensive position change. Were you surprised at the move to third when they talked to you about that?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, when you win a Gold Glove, you don't expect to move.
Right. Yeah.
But I was, they told me like, hey, this is your fastest way to the big leagues. Like, you just got to go out there and perform here, and this is the way to the big leagues. And I was like, I mean, that sounds good to me. Like, I'm all for it. Like, let's go do it. Let's get after it and let's work on it and let's get better every day. It doesn't matter if we have nicks along the way because they're gonna happen. That's just part of life. Nobody's perfect. And let's just try to get better every day. And that's what we did this past year is we went in, we worked hard every day, we put in the extra work, and just that's why I'm here now.
Obviously you were primary second baseman, but had you had, even going back to like high school or little league, any experience playing third base?
No, like I grew up a shortstop my entire life. Right. I mean, I guess at Tech I played a couple games at third my freshman year, but after that I didn't play third. But I grew up a shortstop, and then my freshman year of high school I had to switch over to second because my brother was shortstop. So we were the two up the middle, and then after he graduated high school, I moved back to shortstop the entire way. And then I was gonna play second at Tech, but they had another guy come back that I thought was going to get drafted. So I went to third. And then after he got drafted, then I went back to second. So it's kind of just like going pinball sometimes wherever I'm needed.
Yeah. So a little bit of familiarity, but not a ton. And of course, you're part of a baseball lineage now, man. I mean, your brother, Josh, world champion for the Texas Rangers last season. I mean, what a whirlwind for you and your family. I mean, he gets called up the same year that they win the World Series. He's a key piece of that World Championship run. And with you obviously being from Texas, if you could just kind of talk about that experience as you were following along. It must have been pretty surreal, somebody from Texas following your brother on the Rangers winning their first World Championship.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, just watching like the atmospheres they were playing in, I literally couldn't take my eyes off the TV. I was so happy for him just to be able to go through something like that. That's something we dream of as a kid. And just for him to go out there and perform the way he did really in the postseason was, anything we couldn't even done that in the backyard, just how it went. He hit so well in the postseason. He played amazing defense. And it was just so fun to watch him go out there and perform at a high level. Did
you grow up a Rangers fan?
I did not. I grew up a Dodger fan. But like I was a Dodger fan because my dad just was a huge Brooklyn Dodger fan. Our whole game room is Brooklyn Dodger, and now a couple of Dodgers like from Los Angeles. But I really grew up like a player fan. I liked players. Like I liked certain type of players, and that's kind of what I did. Is like if I had more favorite players on this team, I kind of rooted for them, if more so than the team. I only had a couple, like one or two. So I kind of was a player guy. I liked a lot of players.
I feel like as a lot of major league or future major leaguers come up through the system and watch the game, I feel like that's kind of common, is guys that they have certain players that they latch onto, certain guys they model their game After I kind of had a similar conversation when I talked to Max Clark, where he's like, yeah, where I'm from, we don't really have a professional team. So I just followed Bryce Harper's games or certain other players I enjoyed. One thing that I appreciate about you when I watched you in college, and it's carried over obviously to the big league level, is the intensity you played with. I mean, you were quoted the night you were drafted saying you wanted to run through a wall for the Tigers. There's a great clip online of you homering against Texas and rounding third and shit talking their dugout. I'm not gonna ask for the context of that because I'm sure it was in the moment. But I guess as you've gotten older and as you've now seen time at the big league level, do you feel like you've had to change how you manage your emotions as you've come up through the system? Do you feel like you've matured, or do you want to, continue to play with that same kind of intensity?
I think there's definitely controlled intensity now. You can't get away with that stuff that, I got away in college with a couple times. I just played with the chip on my shoulder, like big time in college. And, I wanted to do everything for Texas Tech, and I wanted, to bring them a World Series. That's every kid's dream, is to bring their college a World Series. And that was my intent. Like I went every day and did my extra work, tried to be the best version of myself that day at the plate, in the field. I just tried to go out there and win every single game, because college is so much different. It's like every game matters. Like every game determines your RPI, your rank, whether you host a regional, whether you host a super regional. So like everything goes into those games. Like, there's only 50 something games. So like, it's compacted, and the games mean so much more because there's not as many. And I think, when I got to college, when I got to professional ball, I kind of had to control that, because I knew I couldn't do that stuff in college. So it's kind of a controlled intensity, but like there's certain spots where you can show certain emotion, and there's certain spots where, you want the crowd, to get up on their feet and, get excited with you, and, just trying to bring that type of energy to the stadium. Like last night after I hit the RBI single, like I knew that was a great moment to bring up the dugout energy, bring up the fans, and like just get the boys going, like just trying everything like to help the team, like just get going and like start a rally.
Yeah, and we saw it. And it was fantastic. I think most fans, whether they were at Williamsport or at home, probably had a similar reaction. It was really cool to see. Just talking about your college days for a second, I have somebody who's gotten more into it over the last several years. I feel like college baseball as a sport is kind of this hidden gem. I think it's one of those things that, like, if you watch it, it's really fun. It's really intense. I've been fortunate enough to be at Omaha a few times. It's a really, really fun environment. Do you feel like that sport is maybe close to having a moment? Because every time I know of somebody who's not familiar with college baseball and they watch it, they come away from it being like, that was really cool. That was a lot of fun. Do you feel like it's maybe on the up and up now more than it has been in the past?
Man, I think it is. Like from Texas Tech's perspective, like we have so many traditions.
Yeah.
Like that comes with it. Like, and I think that's what makes college sports so special, especially baseball, is like you have so many traditions that if you just watch on TV, you don't really know about. But like when you go to the games and like sit there and watch the full game, like you'll start to pick up on the traditions and like the certain things that teams like to do. And I think that's what makes college sports so special, is like, you get to learn the traditions, you get to learn the atmosphere of all these places, you get to be in the atmosphere, and you get to like experience like how loud and how, just getting after it these guys are when they play.
Yeah, and I also think it's a big around here, and I'm from Michigan. It's tough regionally because like the weather doesn't get like it's not playable baseball weather till like till the time the College World Series rolls around. So like when you watch like the SEC teams, the Big 12 teams go at it, like it's a lot more intense early on in the season. I feel like weather has something to do with that. There's a couple at bats that you've had in your career, both at the minor league level and the major league level, that I wanted to ask you about. You had the fortunate in air quotes chance to face Paul Skeens when you were in AAA this year. I mean, he saw very limited action in in the minor leagues before getting called up by the Pirates. Obviously, so much hype behind him. But what was that? Could you kind of talk me through that at bat, or what you remember from it?
Yeah, so I actually the year he got drafted, I faced him in Double-A,
Okay.
and I got a hit off him my first at bat, but he only threw 3 innings, so I didn't get to face him again. But his stuff's good. I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, it runs. He tried to nibble the corner with the changeups a bunch. Tried to throw a backdoor slider my first at bat, and then I hit the heater up the middle for a single. And the next year he came back, and it was just, I mean, he just attacked way differently, and just threw a lot more heaters up and in. He was just painting left and right, and it was just kind of like tough. Like, I think I had 2 strikeouts this year. I think one of them he challenged. So I was like, dang, yeah. He threw it up and in, and he challenged it. The umpire called it a ball, and it barely nicked. So I was just like, oh, it's just tough luck. But, he's a really good pitcher, obviously. And I think he's just continuing to get better.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, and we'll get back to your debut in a second. But yeah, you played under some very new rules, some very different rules with the challenge system. I'm just curious, what was your experience with that like? Did you enjoy it? Did you have positive experiences with it, negative experiences with it? Because I do think it's something that's probably going to be coming here in the next several years. But, you were one of the first to kind of play under it.
Yeah, I think it's for sure going to be here in the next 3 years. I would say that they're going to implement them, especially since they're implementing them so much in the minor leagues. I think Low A and AAA are both on it. So, I think it's coming sooner than people expect. And, there's ups and downs to it. But I think when you limit yourself to only a couple challenges, it makes the challenges, worth so much more. Like, you can't just, say nobody on base you're in the first inning. You're not going to just challenge a 2-2 pitch with nobody on base. You have to be so much more, because they went down to 2 challenges now per game, no matter what. And I think that's the part, that's going to be so, you got to know, as a catcher and pitcher, you got to talk, yo, was that there? You got to be, super strict on your pitches. And, at a hitting-wise, you probably shouldn't even challenge unless there's guys on base or in scoring position, because the challenges mean so much more. Unless you're 100%. Unless you're 100%, then you challenge. You're right. But other than 100% before the 6th inning, you got to really save your challenges, because really at the end of the day, the 8th, 9th, and the 7th, 8th, 9th is where you really want those challenges, because bases loaded, 2 outs, 3-2 count. You think you throw and hit the corner, challenge, challenge. If they call it a ball, challenge and see if it's a strike. Just saving them for certain spots, I think it's going to be transitioning to knowing when to do it.
Do you have any idea what your success or hit rate was on your challenges? Were you pretty good?
I was I won majority of mine. I would say I lost a couple, 2 or 3 of them, but I kind of hit majority. I didn't challenge much, though. That's the thing. It's I didn't challenge unless I really needed to, or I really thought that was a ball. If a ball was close or it nicked, I was just that's okay. I can live with that. But when I got down to it, if we're in the 9th inning and I thought that ball was way off and we're down a run, I'm challenging right away, just so we use the challenges and don't waste the game without using a challenge. So there's different things you have to learn about, especially myself in AAA, about the challenges and the non-challenge days where it's just ABS only. So just learning the ins and outs of it was pretty fun this year.
Yeah, no, it seems, at least when the footage I've seen of it in game, it seems pretty interactive and pretty fun. I think there are more advantages than disadvantages, but I do understand the people who are kind of down on it to an extent, because one, it basically eliminates to a certain extent pitch framing. At least in the later innings and higher leverage situations. And there are those instances where a pitch is over the plate, but a catcher just does a poor job of receiving it, so it doesn't look like a strike.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to kind of eliminate those. So, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages, but I do think the count, it kind of sounds weird to put it this way, the count is more important now than it's ever been with guys trying to draw more walks. Pitchers are striking guys out more. I mean, probably more than ever, the difference between a 2-1 count and a 1-2 count is astronomical. It matters.
It does. Everything matters. Yeah,
so,
and that's the thing is like pitchers, like the ball that Paul Steen struck me out, the catcher set up away, he's trying to hit the corner away, and he yanks it inside, and it clips. And the umpire calls it a ball because he missed the spot by a couple feet, but the pitcher knows like, oh, that's a strike, and he challenged, and then he gets out of a jam. So it's just like there's ups and downs to it that like, that are fun when you're on one side, but it's not fun when you're on the other side and they missed the spot by 2 feet. And you're like, dude, you missed your spot by 2 feet and I still struck out even though he called it a ball. But when you're on the other side pitching, you're like, I missed my spot by 2 feet, but I know that's a strike. Like, I think there are happy mediums on both sides of it that are pretty good.
You don't have to name names, but was there anyone you came up with who just sucked at challenges? who was just never right?
No, I haven't really seen anybody that was too bad at it. I mean, there was a couple. I mean, there's like that were full balls on the plate, and you're just like, tough challenge, man. But that's just part of the game. That's the part of learning the challenge. I think that's why people like in AAA, you got to do it. Like you got to do it. Like that way, you know how your zone. You can see the box where it was, where you thought it was, where it was now, and then kind of move on from it. Yeah,
for sure. I want to ask you about your call up and actually the build up to the call up because I know you're not on social media as much as crazy people like us, but you were becoming kind of a legend because you kept getting scratched every few weeks from the AAA lineup and people kept assuming or thinking that you were getting called up. I'm just curious, as somebody who's probably does a much better job of blocking out the noise, were there stops and starts for you? Were there moments where you thought, hey man, this might be it, and then it just ended up being a regular day off, or were you kind of trying to not think in those terms?
Yeah, I looked at some of the tweets and people were like, "It's Jace Jung time." I think we were in St. Paul. I was like, "Is Jace Jung? Jace Jung just got scratched," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going up though." So just seeing all this stuff and like I know what was happening, but like it was just funny like to read some stuff and like Jace Jung, but I can't say anything. But like just seeing all the tweets and stuff, like I thought it was cool, like that people had that much, confidence in me going up, and it just wasn't my time.
Yeah, and I guess when the moment finally happened, it was a similar thing. You were scratched from the lineup again. How'd the conversation go? How do you find out that you were going to the bigs?
Yeah, I was actually in the cages getting ready to hit, and I was sitting there next to Torque and just messing with him, and Fed, our AAA manager, walks in and says like, and then Hess, our hitting coach, turns around and is like, "Oh, Skipper's in here. What is he doing in here?" And I was like, "Yeah, what is he doing in here?" And he like walks down the aisle and like throws his hands up and says like, "Jace, you're going to the big leagues." And I looked around and I was like, "Oh, he said my name, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, Jace, you're going to." I was like, "Oh, sick, that's awesome." And I got up and just gave everybody a hug, and everybody got excited, and I just was like, I was just on cloud nine, really just living life after that one. After he told me, I was really excited, and then he told Trey right after me, and then we both gave a nice hug to each other, and so pumped for one another to be up here together.
It got to be kind of unique too, with Trey Sweeney only being in this organization for several weeks now, and all of a sudden he's getting called up to the to the big league level. Who was the first person you contacted after you found out the news?
Yeah, I would say my parents for sure. I contacted them, and then obviously everybody in my family, my girlfriend, my brother. I called my grandpa, texted my nana, and then I just really contacted everybody that's really helped me get to this point in life, and just told them thank you and all this stuff.
Yeah, in this year, the Tigers have had so many first and second year guys get called up and make it to the big leagues, and I'm sure it's such an emotional whirlwind, and to a point where the game itself and the moment itself, I mean, were you almost exhausted by the time like you stepped into the box with all the emotions that have been, kind of going through you over the last, not just that day, but the last several months? Your family's there. Like, how were you feeling in the moment as you stepped in to face Garrett Cole?
I was so pumped. I tried, they told me like to control my shakes. And like when I get up there, like you're going to shake. And I was like, I tried my best to take like the deep breaths and try to relax, try to stay under control, like live in the moment. And I think I did a great job of that. Like just staying under control, not getting too jittery up there and just letting Cole like throw his nasty stuff to me and me try to hit it. And I think I did a great job of that the first couple of bats of just like battling him and just like seeing him up, like laying off the high stuff because his heater's he's great. His heater's great. And just laying off the heater up, just trying to spit on anything that's not in his zone. And I think I did a good job of that.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that because, you get called up to the big league level. They always say, it's a different game. You got to adjust to big league pitching. Your first at-bats against the former Cy Young winner, like the reigning Cy Young winner. And what makes Cole so dangerous is that he has 4 or 5 different pitches that he can locate in all different parts of the strike zone. Like that fastball is going to ride up. He's got the break and stuff that's going to, dive down. When you came up there with him being a power pitcher, were you looking to see a heater? Were you hoping to swing at a fastball, or were you just trying to hope to get something middle and crush it?
I was definitely staying on the heater with him. After he threw me a first pitch cutter inside, kind of like welcome to the show, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of throw it up and in. She was like, kind of welcome to the show, and I was like, okay, here we go. Like he's coming after me. This is what I want. This is what I want for my first at bat. This is what I want. And he's just went into battle mode after that. Like I knew he was going to come after me after he threw that first one up and in, and I just tried to go up there and compete pitch to pitch and like just try to move the ball forward.
What have you done with your or at least currently? Where is your first major league hit ball? Where is it in your possession? Is it in the organization's possession right now?
It's still in the organization's possession. I haven't got it yet, but I definitely will be putting that in a safe spot.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, pretty incredible stuff, and I do find it interesting because we've had a few guys make their debuts over the last few years who had to debut in their first at bat against some nasty pitchers. Wencel Perez this year's first at bat of his career was a pinch hit against Aroldis Chapman in like the 8th inning against the Pirates. So he was seeing like 103, 104 to kind of welcome himself to the show there. Yeah, but
that's just part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it comes with the territory. I guess one thing I'm always interested in is just kind of the mental approach of these guys when they go to the plate, and especially nowadays where organizations have access to so much data and so many different analytics and numbers that they can look at. And we've talked to certain guys who love that. Like when we talked to Max Clark, he's all about going to Driveline and looking at the data. Where interviewed Justin Henry Malloy, and his approach is more simplified. I guess for you, how much attention do you pay to the numbers, and is there a point for you where maybe it becomes a little bit too overwhelming where you kind of stop thinking about just the basic like see ball, hit ball? Where's your mindset kind of at bat to at bat?
Yeah, when I look at a pitcher, I just like to know like what his heater does. I like to know what his heater does, if he's got run, ride, if he's got extension when he's throwing, if he's got if he releases height. I like to know that stuff, and I just like to know what kind of pitches he has off that heater. But like when I'm done looking at the pitcher, like I tell Michael Bedard all the time, like Michael and Keith, like I tell them all the time, like you tell me the rest of the pitches, and then I'm like, I'm on the heater. Like I tell him that, and then it reinforces in my mind, like, yeah, I know he's got other pitches, but like we're still staying on the heater. Like we got to be ready for the heater in case he throws at first pitch.
Yeah, for sure. You're from Texas, as we talked about. You get drafted by a team in Detroit. How much familiarity do you have with cold weather?
Not much. I mean, it does get cold in Lubbock. I mean, it snows a couple times a year in Lubbock, Texas, because it's kind of West Texas. But it doesn't get really that cold during the year. I mean, sometimes it does, but like I usually wear a hand warmer to keep my hands warm. Like the Aaron Rodgers wears, like a hand warmer, like that kind of thing. Like I've been wearing that in West Michigan. I wore it in Toledo at the beginning of this year just to keep my hand warm, because that's the main thing. Is like if I can keep my hands warm when I'm playing, like I'll be good. Like the rest can be cold. Like it's just the hands. Like these are the most valuable thing on my parts of my body when I'm playing baseball is my hands. And if I can't feel my hands, that's the big issue. So I just try to keep my hands warm. But West Michigan got cold. Toledo got really cold, and it's just kind of like you just got to go up there and simplify everything because the pitcher's cold too, and the hitter's cold, and the catcher and the umpire, everybody's cold. So you just got to go up there with the right approach and just try to drive everything low liners and not try to do too much with the ball.
Yeah, and I mean, if it gets cold, or if you're playing in the cold here, it's probably a good thing because it means you're playing deep into the season. You're potentially getting too hot. I mean, we played multiple World Series games in 30-degree weather, but it's worth it if you're playing in that environment. This is kind of the youth movement right now is very much in play here in Detroit with you and Cole Keith. And I mean, it's kind of crazy that Riley Green, who's only in his third year, he's like the veteran of the group right now at this point, like the gray haired, seen it all, been through it all kind of guy. I guess, I do you pay attention to kind of what the storyline is with that about there's so many fans who believe that like this is the core that hopefully is leading into the next great era of Detroit Tiger baseball. Do you try not to get yourself psyched out with thinking about what the future might have in store and what you guys have on your plate and could potentially do for this organization that hasn't been to the playoffs in 10 years?
Yeah. You definitely can think about that, but like main thing like with these guys that we got right now is like just staying where our feet are, be where our feet are, go out there every day, try to get better every single day, and just eventually those things will come with the hard work and dedication we're putting into the game because the game will give back. So like just having the right mindset every day, not taking any day for granted, just going out there competing, and trying to win every single day. I think that's the main thing. Like when we go into a game, like we just gotta really focus on winning and just get in there and like grind every at bat, every pitch on the field. Just keep grinding. I mean, that's the main thing of the baseball is like you got to grind it out. It's a long season. There's going to be nicks. You're going to be playing through bruises, nicks, all that kind of stuff. But when you just get your mindset right of just like coming into the ballpark and just trying to get better, I think that's what we could strive to do.
Last night in Williamsport, you had the good fortune of playing defense behind Tarek Skubal, who was on the mound. Another friend of the program. What was seeing it and being in the field for that, like, and thankfully you don't have to stand in the box against them. So that's the one plus is you don't have to face them. But some of the nastiest stuff in baseball, when you're watching it from that perspective at third base or second base, like, is it noticeable just the way that his stuff plays, the way that changeup kind of moves when you're out there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The swings he gets is just like, oh my gosh, like this guy is legit. Like, I mean, there's no reason. I mean, his numbers say it all this year. I mean, he is the best pitcher in baseball, and it's honestly an honor to play behind him because of how good he is. And when I'm out there, I just want to try to make every play for him because he works his butt off, and I just want to give back to him.
Yeah, and you helped turn a big double play last night too. So you definitely helped him out in the infield. You brought up that when you were young, you were kind of a fan of players, and individual players. Did you have any guys that were on the Tigers that you liked paying attention to or liked watching when you were growing up?
I like Miguel Cabrera a lot. Yeah. Just his approach to the plate. I mean, it's second to none. I mean, that's just unique. I mean, he just goes out there every day and just drives the ball every single day. I thought it was so fun to watch him. I liked Prince Fielder. He was a cool one to watch when he was with the Tigers. Just his overall, like, it just stinks that his career ended so soon. But he was electric when he was out there playing, and I think that was fun to watch when he was with the Tigers and other teams as well. But I think I didn't watch too many Tigers. Obviously, I think Pudge played here a little bit.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think Pudge was fun to watch. And honestly, to this day, I think Trammell's fun to watch. Take ground balls with us. I think that's pretty fun. He's going out there grinding with us, like sweating his butt off for us. I mean, and he's pretty fun to watch now. I mean, knowing he's in the Hall of Fame doing all that stuff, I think that's fun to watch. Like nowadays, like I play catch with Tram all the time. I think it's the coolest thing in the world. Like this guy's in the Hall of Fame and he's still trying to help us out. I think that is it speaks for who Trammell is as a person. Like,
Yeah.
literally giving back to us, trying to help us win. And I think he should be commended so much for what he does for us, especially in the minor league. I mean, he goes out there and sweats his butt off, and he picks up. The best thing I've seen about Trammell is he will go pick up every single, and when we're in Tiger Town spring training, he will pick up every single ball that goes over the fence that doesn't go to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
He will go out there and he'll pick up every single ball. He'll pick up every ball in the field. He'll stand there in the middle of the field and be the bucket guy, collect the baseballs in the middle. I mean, it literally true role model, honestly, is what Trammell is. And I think he's helped us so much. And I think myself included, he's helped me so much just be comfortable over there at third base and, just trying to, we work on our pre-pitch and all this stuff. And I think he's helped me tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, he's Tiger's lifer, obviously, and he was there. Well, he was at the in Brian Pena's office when I was doing the color commentary for the Whitecaps game. It was the first time that I'd ever run into him. I didn't get a chance to say much because I'm like, shit, it's Alan Trammell. Holy shit. But yeah, no, you're right, dude. I mean, this guy's out there fielding ground balls. He was he was helping Torkelson, I remember, in the early part of this year. I think at first base, just getting some of those scoops in. I mean, yeah, it's such a vital thing to have, a guy who had that kind of success as a player and as a person in the organization. You brought up obviously watching Miguel Cabrera come up through the system. I take it you've crossed paths with him at some point.
I have, yeah, I have. Yeah, I've crossed paths with him in spring training a couple times, and he's been nice. I mean, so nice to me. So I really respect that. Yeah, no,
he grew up a lot here, and I mean it was crazy, man. When he was on at his peak, like people still post about on Tiger's Twitter, like it was just it's like what Judge is now, where it's like when he steps to the plate, there's just like a different energy in the park. Yeah. Like you know this dude just has it, and it would almost feel like a surprise if he recorded an out or didn't rip a double. I know you grew up obviously a football player, and I gotta ask, as I'm a Michigan fan, so I have a little bit of experience with this with Brady, but how fun is it to have bragging rights over the entire league, knowing that the best player in football is a Red Raider?
Oh, so much fun. I love when people say that he's not, or they try to say somebody else is, because I mean, there's literally no debate. I mean, he is literally the best player in the NFL, and probably will be after. Give him a couple more years. He needs a couple more rings, but he is the best player in the NFL, hands down. I mean, just what he was doing. He was so fun to watch at Tech because we were offensive oriented when he was there.
Run and gun, yeah.
He would throw for 500 yards a game and off his back foot, falling down, like doing the most outrageous things, but it worked every time. Yeah. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like this guy's incredible. Like he's going to be good. Like even like coming through the draft, when he was getting drafted, I was talking to somebody. I was like, Mahomes is like the best quarterback in the draft. Like I was just messing with somebody like he's the best guy in the draft. And this guy was like, no, he's not even that good. He plays for Texas Tech. Like, yeah, he's not good. And I was like, no, I think he's the best quarterback ever. And he was like, no, he's not that good. And I was like, all right. And then the Chiefs traded up and picked him. And I was like, well, he got a chance. He got a chance because some people were predicting him in the second round and all this stuff. And I was like, man, I just think he's so much better than that. And they trade up and just look what's happened now. I mean, he's just rolling. I mean, it's honestly been fun to watch.
Yeah, it was weird how, and this happens sometimes, where the kind of offense that he played under in college was like weirdly held against him. Like the people feel like, oh, he's padding stats, he's padding numbers. And I mean, you look at that QB draft class, it's like, no disrespect to Mitch Trubisky, but him going 2 overall with Mahomes dropping to whatever it was, 10th or something is crazy. In hindsight, yeah, he's unbelievable to watch, man. It's incredible, and obviously with him being the Texas Tech connection, that's got to be a ton of fun. I got to ask though, I'll put you on the spot here a little bit, and there is no wrong answer, so it's technically not on the spot. Right. But you play in Detroit, you are a Texas Tech alum and fan. Mm-hmm. There's a chance, and it almost happened this year. If we get Lions-Chiefs Super Bowl, who are you rooting for?
Who? That would be tough, man. Yeah. That would be tough.
Are you going to have to rock one of those split jerseys like what
I was about to say, I might have to get a split jersey. Like, I mean, I love Dan Campbell, just the way he coaches the game, I'm just like, I mean, I could go play for him right now. Like, just the way his attitude towards the game, he just plays with so much passion, and that's, I think, what rubs off on a lot of people is just the passion he coaches with, and just wants to win every single game, and just like the fourth down, going for it. Like, he just doesn't care. Like, he's like, this is football. Like, I'm here to play football. Like, let's go freaking punch him right in the mouth. And I think I love that part about him. I love that.
It's been a match made in heaven here. Like, when he got here, and I mean, dude, like, Lions have never been good. Like, even when we've been good, we haven't been that good. And this run now, it's like the idea of Super Bowl aspirations is like the most fun thing in the world. I don't know what your offseason plans look like, but if you want to get to a loud environment, dude, get to Ford Field for a game. It's insane. Like,
that's what I've heard. Heard it was the best, one of the best atmospheres in football.
No, it was the first. I went to the 2 home games that we had last year in the postseason, and the first one especially because we hadn't had. There'd never been a home playoff game at Ford Field, and it was the combination of Stafford returning. Like, there was some poetry to that. The loudest environment that I'd been in for a sporting event. I went to Michigan, Ohio State this year. I've been to some big ones. It was insanity, front to back. It was really a lot of fun. Last thing I'll say, I always kind of end the show on a positive note and just say no questions here. But one, it's always cool to see you guys coming up through the system, man, and to see you guys making it and succeeding. Like, one thing you're going to learn here at the big league level, and I'm sure, like I said, you try to block out the noise, which you're smart for doing. But man, dude, Tiger fans rule, and like, we want you guys like to be good so bad, like, and we want you individually to be good so bad. And like last night, I mean, it's game 120 something, and like, I'm getting tweets at like 2:00 in the morning being like, did you watch that Young at bat again? Did you see the walk off again? Like, so I just, don't want to put too much pressure on you or anything like that. But one, I'm happy for you. I mean, this has to be one of the craziest weeks you're ever going to experience in your entire life. I hope you're having a chance to kind of step back and enjoy it for, you've worked hard for this. But secondly, man, like, you're, we really look forward to seeing you grow here and hopefully seeing you guys win here and continuing to get some more W's under your belt here in 2024 because you got a pretty good stretch coming up. But yeah, congrats for all your success. And you are officially a friend of the program, which doesn't mean that I'm still might be critical if you go 0 for 5, but I just won't be. I won't be as mean as I've been to some other guys.
But that's baseball, man. We're gonna have days where we're 0 for 7 and don't. That's the thing. We're gonna have days where we're 0 for 5, and we know we were bad.
Yeah,
like, it's just part of it. But yeah, the media lets us know for sure if we were bad, and we're like, oh, thank you. We know that.
my whole thing, and I've been doing videos after every Tiger game for 8 years now. My whole thing is if I'm gonna be critical of somebody when they struggle, I have to be equally as positive when praised when they are successful. I remember watching Tarek Skubal in an empty ballpark in 2020 in the COVID year debut, and Tim Anderson and Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert were just hitting rockets off this guy. And now, like, I lose sleep at night waiting for every 5th day so I can watch him take the mound. It's like that kind of development is a lot of fun. We hope to see something similar with you. And thank you so much for doing this today, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, enjoy Wrigley, dude.
Will do.
I thank you to Jace for joining the show there. We had a fun conversation after we stopped recording as well, talking a little bit more about football, man. The guy's a professional baseball player. The one thing you learn about everyone from Texas, not to generalize, but I'm generalizing, football's just in these guys' blood. And having watched him at Texas Tech, he plays baseball with the intensity of a football player, which I love. I bring me more of that in Detroit. I think that's why we love Skubal so much. Is going out there pitching every game like it's Game 7 of the World Series. That's infectious. We love it. So obviously it's been a crazy time for him. And as I told him at the end, I really hope that he gets the opportunity to kind of sit back and enjoy it because you only get one major league debut, and I think so far to begin his major league career, it's got to be pretty darn exciting for him. It's got to be pretty darn exciting for his family to watch their second child make it to the big league level. So some not just good people in the Young family, but clearly some good genetics because it's hard enough to get one kid through Little League, which my own parents can attest to that. All right, enough with the comedy routine. That will do it for today's show. On Twitter at Castellani 2014. You can find me on Patreon if you want early access to content. You want to get access to blogs. unused footage from videos. We're going to have some bloopers and stuff that get uploaded. So if you're interested in looking at some of that and keeping up with some of the narratives that exist within my personal life, you can find that all behind a paywall. I think I've shared enough of it publicly to the people. I just want to say, and I do often, but this has been a very strange time. I'm not even going to call it tumultuous. It's just kind of unpredictable. But the consistency that I've been able to find with the content that we do has been one of the saving graces over these last several months. And I got to give a huge, huge shout out, as always, to the GOAT, Austin Sisler. Austin, if you're watching this and you're putting this together, send me the link to your YouTube page, because he has started one where he puts together his video edits, some of which we've used on the program before. Give him a follow. He does a great job of making me look as good as I can possibly look, considering what he has to work with. So thank you guys very much. If you like this podcast, make sure to spread the word. We're trying to get more people on, talk a little bit more football. We want to diversify this thing. Obviously, we've been in the thick of baseball season. I'm proud of the interviews we've done, but football's right around the corner. We got a lot to look forward to. We got a team that's defending a national championship in Michigan, and we got a team that's got Super Bowl aspirations in the Detroit Lions. Good Lord. What topsy-turvy universe are we living in where I can say that? So thank you guys so much for watching, listening. You can find this on Apple Podcasts. You can find this on Spotify. It's everywhere. And if you want to see my face, you can find it on YouTube. Love you guys to death. Thank you so much. Oh, and TikTok at Chris Castellani. Get those numbers up. All of it. Just follow. If you see the name Chris Castellani, just follow. There's gonna be good stuff coming right around the corner. Love you guys to death. Have a great one. Shout out to Jace Jung for coming on. Talk to you soon. Peace and happiness. Go get 'em, Tiger.